Hello everyone. I've got to do a little bit of housekeeping. There we go. Okay, excellent. We're live. Who have we got here? Brilliant. Yes, we're off. Hello. We are just waiting for Russell to join us. And before we do, I'd like to say a few words and welcome you all to this wonderful event, which has been hosted by Waterstones on their Instagram Live. Thank you very much, Waterstones. It's great to be here this evening. I'm Simon Oldfield. I'm the co-founder of Pindrop, which I co-founded with the amazing, wonderful Elizabeth Day, who you may know from her podcast, How to Fail. And I'm also the editor of this wonderful book, A Short Affair, which you can probably see there. It's obviously in reverse because that's how these things work. And in real life, it's even better. It's got a whole host of amazing authors in it, from best-selling writers including Ben Okri, Nika Shukla, A.L. Kennedy, Lionel Shriver, Will Self, alongside the winners of the Pindrop Short Story Award, which we hosted at the Royal Academy for the last 4 or 5 years. So it includes Claire Fuller, Beth Ann Roberts, whose book is just about to be made into a movie, Cherie Saywell, and most recently we had the winner for the last Short Story Award was Booker nominee Sophie Ward, which I'm not sure if any of you have read it yet, but it's an amazing novel. And the short story that's in this book, in the paperback, is called Sunbed, which also features in her book, which is, I've just got a message come through, so I need to just do one thing. There we go. And I think bear with us. And I think we're getting a little request there. I think we've got Russell Tovey coming to us now. Bear with us. There we go. Comes, I think. Waiting for Russell, it says. And while we're still waiting for Russell, I'll finish telling you. Oh, there he is! Hello!
Hey, how you doing?
Us.
We're in the future. This is great.
Yeah, we are in the future. How's your day been?
Day's been good. Been doing loads of writing, Simon. You'll be pleased about.
I will be very pleased to hear about that. I set you lots of homework, haven't I?
You give me lots of homework, but that's very good. I'm very happy about that. Yeah. How's your day been?
Very good. Very good indeed. It's very autumnal, isn't it? It's lovely.
Your bookshelf behind you always working. Look at all them. Short Affair, hardback behind you. I can see. I can see the
Brilliant.
back, and I can
Yeah.
see a Warhol selection. No, who is that? Is it all Warhol? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. It's all the Warhol up the kind of up to the most recent one they've done of all the catalogue resume. So it's kind of kind of it kind of documents everything from the prints, and then it's going through to all the paintings and covering all those. Yeah, that's it really. And you've got some lovely artwork behind you.
I have there 2 works by Will Boone, and then just there is a work by Cheyenne Julian.
Ah, fantastic. Great.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've got Eddie Peake as well, who did the cover of the hardback. So
I've not got Eddie here at the moment, but I have Eddie Peake. Yes, I love his work. He's a cool dude.
yeah, he certainly is. Well, we share a passion for art as well, don't we?
Big time, Simon. That's how we met, wasn't it? Was it through art thing? I mean, you asked me to do pin drop, but maybe it was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination, art and literature, the marriage of the two, and hence why we're here.
Best combination. Absolutely.
So this evening we're obviously here to talk about this lovely book
Yes.
and your amazing story in it.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to just say a few words about your book and then about the evening and what it's generally about, and then we'll kick off with your extracts. So for anyone who doesn't know, Russell is an amazing actor, which you probably all do know, but now he's also become a great writer. And this is his fiction debut, his short fiction debut. He wrote this story last year, and it is called The Kiss. And we'll talk a little bit more about the story and why it's called The Kiss and all the other things that are going on in the story. But first of all, Russ, would you mind reading an extract from the story?
Sure.
I think you're going to start with the opening, which is a very good place to start. And we'll take it from there.
All right. This is called The Kiss by Russell Tovey. Do you ever get that feeling that you want to cry because you're so happy? Like tears of joy because the happiness is so overwhelming. You know, cry happy, crappy. I don't know what that feeling is. I don't cry, ever. I know I should cry because I'm so fucking sad, or cry when I've smacked myself in the face with my shoe or something, because pain deserves tears. It's a subconscious transaction, but no. I am all alone in the world. I don't cry, and I can't be touched. But it's fine, isn't it? At least I look good. I was born late, really late. Mother was a tight one, and it took a long time for this bitch to come cascading out of her. Covered in fairy dust and high kicking onto the midwife's table, she cut the cord, slapped my tush, and I began singing a perfect high G. Mother didn't take to me at first. They called it postnatal depression. I just called it jealousy. I got attention everywhere we went, apparently. I looked cute as fuck as a baby. I'll show you pictures if you want. I've got good baby pictures if you care. I look cute. I still do. Don't touch me, though. I'm not into that touching thing. Hugging in the street, not me. I don't like holding hands. And no, I won't fist bump you, darling. No. Save it for your narcotics dealer, and I'll save it for prison. I'm cold. I know I'm cold, but hot on the outside, cool in the middle. It's the greatest combination in history. So I've been seeing a psychoanalyst for 2 years because I've been thinking about killing myself every day. Not in a conventional way, though. In a very dramatic, sensational way. Highest building, full makeup, flowing couture ball gown, dropping onto the streets below like a queen. I may even have a martini glass in my hand. Bangles, jangling. Earrings, big. I've also thought of running in a fast traffic or a subway train in the highest hills I could find so my legs would look insane as they disappeared under the wheels or into the tracks. I was arrested on a United flight crossing Boston to Chicago as I questioned the flight attendant on what the outcome would be if I happened to open the emergency door mid-air. She said I scared her and they grounded the flight. I was forcibly removed from the cabin. I let them carry me, but I screamed a lot as I'd seen this happen on the news recently and people made money. I didn't make money. I made my toilet paper last longer than a few wipes in my police cell. 3 days in solitary confinement. So life had gotten tricky, and then I met Shirley. Hi, Shirley. No, she's not here. She's not at the back of the room. She's in my mind story I'm deciding to tell you. She's small, Spanish, solid, proud, academic, funny sometimes, and mine. Hiya, Shirley. She asked me to sit quietly while she sharpened a pencil. Why are you using a pencil? I said. So she can erase stuff if needed. I said, I will not be erased, Shirley. She looked at me, trying to suss me out. I'm not going to erase you, honey, she said. It's just how I work. I was silenced. I handed her my eyeliner sharpener. She took it, pleased that I'd made an offer of something. Did you think I was selfish? I don't know yet, she said. We haven't even started. For 2 years, we met daily. And by daily, I mean daily. What the fuck? How? Every day I was to come to this office and sit in front of this small Spanish lady and tell her my story. How many outfits would that be? How many makeup looks? How many accessories would I get through? Fuck. After week 2, I just wore jeans. It was easier. She had broken me down. I was intrigued. I'd never done work on myself. That was fine. I hadn't wanted to, but now was the time. Now it began. Death or drama. I choose drama. For now. I told Shirley we were on a countdown. I was her responsibility. She had 10 weeks to spin me around or I was going to kill myself. She ignored the pressure I placed in her lap, asking me instead banalities about myself. I told her I never liked my hair. It was scratchy. Do you know what I mean? Dry, scratchy, badly shaped. My head pushed out my skull in a way which gave my hair a bouncy haystack quality. Children would climb all over me during the autumn months. like a farm. They didn't really. I'm also not a whore, I told her. I don't have sex anymore. It's over. I did love once, but oh no, that's another story. Oh shit, hang on, it's this story. I hate it when that happens. Try to brush past the pain, breezy and free, but alas, no. Pain wants her moment. Shirley loves Miss Pain. So here it is. Cave. Big old cave. That was his name. Cave. Isn't that funny? Like a bear cave? He was hairy too, and stocky, and rough, and he would see me and hold me and touch me, and I let him because his chapped hands made me feel alive. Anyway, Cave died. Cancer. Quickly. His hair fell out all over his hairy body, bare to otter overnight, and then his heart gave up and he left me while I slipped out to make a pot of coffee. We were chatting about ice cream. He liked raisins in his. I found this literally disgusting, but he loved the texture and surprise of fruit in cold. Anyway, I came back and he was dead. And I'd never told him that I loved him. He told me thousands of times, and I assumed he would have read my ignorant grunts as, I love you too, honey, with everything I have on my heart, more than I have ever loved anyone or anything before. Right? I had no hand in his funeral. His right-wing, Trump-voting, propaganda-loving family organized it, and I wasn't allowed within 100 kilometers of the churchyard. I went, obviously, but after they'd gone, it was a shitty headstone. Cave, Mark, Anthony, Teller, it said. Dead. It didn't say dead, but I'm dead inside, and I didn't want to read the rest properly. I didn't want to see his dates, or his eulogy written by people that hated him for who and what he was. See, I would have written Cave Mark Anthony Teller, the hottest, the kindest, loved rum and raisin like a loon, lives forever in my heart and mind, maybe not mind, in my heart, forever, love me. I wouldn't write me. He'd know who me was. No one else would. Maybe that's okay. Maybe you're allowed some mystery after death. I'd also write his birthday and the year he died. That's what you're supposed to do. That's traditional. The end. Okay, section number 1.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, most obviously, that's in an American accent. So that's the first thing to unpack here. And
Yeah.
Sets the scene somewhat in New York, of course.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us about the inspiration behind the story, because it was originally called Inspired by Pride.
Yeah, that was working title, was Inspired by Pride. So I wrote this story because I did Angels in America, the play. I played Joe Pitt at the National Theatre in London. And that show has been my touchstone work of like the play, and the TV show on HBO has been a touchstone piece for me all my life. So I sort of manifested, astral projected this job into my life. And I've always found Pryor and Lewis's relationship, but Pryor especially as the protagonist in Angels America, is such an inspiring, incredible, beautiful, multifaceted, like nuanced, funny, emotional character, and he stays with me. I have Pryor's always with me, weirdly. That character stays with me. So when you approached me to write a short story, I wanted to write something that was inspired by him, that was like a character that could be a friend of his, or could even have been him. And so I came up with this character in this piece, and it's kind of a tragic story, but it's, you know, which I didn't want to make it a tragic story, because I wanted it to be a hopeful gay story, because you read so many stories, queer stories, where they're not like happy. And this happy, but he's not unhappy about it. And he's had this life, and he tells you his story. And where you get to, as we do the clips, where we get to at the end is that it's a really hopeful piece. And this character is very, you know, you think he's broken and he's very complex, but he is very hopeful and kind of inspiring. So that's what came from.
It's interesting because it's imbued with a lot of tragedy and pathos and sadness, but actually, as you say, there's a lot of hope in there. And I think as we see as you progress through the story, there is at the end of it there is something which is really quite joyful actually, and in the experience.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
and actually, it's interesting that the protagonist doesn't have a name. Um, was that a conscious decision that you made?
I don't know what I don't know what their name is. I've no idea what their name is, but I think Cave was enough that like the protagonist's partner, the love of his life for a period of time, is called Cave, and I felt like it's such a strong name, and sort of like feels like a cocoon or something safe, that that name was enough. You've got his therapist as well, and she's in there, but it just felt like to give them a name felt like I didn't know what it was. I quite like the idea that it's you can project onto this character your own narrative or your own name. I feel like it's I know, well, yeah, and I still don't know. I haven't decided. I guess it was originally it was like Prior Walter. It was a reincarnation or a kind of sister to Prior's character. I mean, Angels in America.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me actually until second or third reading there wasn't
Yeah,
actually an
yeah,
protagonist. But right, Cave is such a powerful name. I mean, and who wouldn't want to be in love with someone called Cave? I mean, it's kind of a great name.
it was.
um, it's also great for the collection to have a very very confident story about two men being in love, a
Yeah,
great love story. So for me personally, it's great to have it in the collection. And we've spoken about this a little bit before, but writing about something which is obviously so close to your heart, how was it writing about that sort of story rather than just performing in that sort of narrative?
well, I always find writing for me, especially scripts.
Mm,
I've been writing for many years, but it feels like it's now starting to really get traction. I feel like I've found my voice and people are responding to that. And I think before I tried to write like other people wrote, assuming that I'd be able to do it like that. And it didn't, it never really connected in the way that I feel like I'm able to connect now with stuff. But for me, writing always feels like as an actor, I always loved improvisation. I love improv. It doesn't scare me at all. As a kid, I loved the freeze game. I love I loved it. And so for me, writing feels like spontaneous improvisation. So and I
mm,
get into that sweet spot where you can just write and you can feel it and you're crafting this world. And sometimes my fingers can't keep up with my mind, my brain, and I find that really frustrating. I'm very envious of writers that literally are able to talk and spit and type at the same time. One day I'll get there. So my process is slower, but for me, I feel like I'm just improvising and pulling these characters and these narratives and strands out, and also my lived experience. I feel
mm,
like I was pulling on that and drawing inspiration from, my relationship, my family, my experiences in work, and they all feed into the
mm.
feeling of creativity, which is what we all draw on. We all draw on our own journey to that creative people, and we channel that into our art.
Yeah, I think that's right as well. And I think a lot of writers will be very envious of you being able to, write so fluently and not, your fingers can't keep up with your mind. That's a kind of a great position to be in. And I
Yeah,
think because you're writing from such a personal perspective, drawing on all of your experiences,
yeah,
it just makes it feel, certainly when I read the story, there's a real authenticity, there's an honesty to it, which is, very powerful actually. Um, how much of the story do you think is sort of autobiographical? Then you touched on it, being influenced by your relationships and family.
I think there is. I think emotionally in there's a lot of emotions that are autobiographical. Um, I think wish I was sometimes as vivacious as them, as kind of fuck you to the world at times about the way that they live their authentic life, their story. Even
Mm,
like their childhood is very broken. That's not based on me, but I had a great childhood. But I feel like it's the lived gay experience, the lived queer experience. You, the narratives of so many are so
mm,
fascinating. I love discovering more and more the journeys that people go through and what people's experiences are. And when it comes down to things like religion and comes down to things like choosing your pronouns and your how you would like to be perceived in the world and who you are and your identity and conforming to gender norms and all these sort of things really fascinate me as a writer, and
Yeah,
the queer umbrella.
and it feels even more urgent right now to have those kind of conversations and to be, and I certainly, when I'm looking for great stories, which is what I'm doing all the time, both in art and in literature,
Mm.
it's looking for things which have authenticity and honesty, but also bring something fresh to it. I think right now it's important that people bring something of themselves very visibly to the front of whatever they're writing or producing. And I think some of the most successful stuff that we're seeing, within exhibitions, within writing, within film and TV, are those things where people feel like they're stepping into that person's world, and there's a really great sense of rawness, I suppose. But then also dealing with some of the complexities that we're all kind of having to wrestle with at the moment.
I think I've been most successful in my writing for myself is when I've really lent into who I am,
Yeah,
and I feel like I've been able to access more them sort of stories. They sort of kind of come tumbling out, and
yeah.
also, me and you have worked together a lot on these short stories, and they're like
Mm.
pinned to your company where you read. Basically, you set it up because people are I can't keep getting notifications where people are adults have read stories. As kids, we read stories and it's relaxing and we love it. But as adults, we never read it. And the audiobooks took off. And there seems to be a massive drive for podcasts like mine, Talk Art. Thank you if you've got that. But that was what Pin Drop was set up for. So you had this anthology, and I read so many stories, and we'd be sitting there afterwards with people, and they'd get me to sign the front of the book and stuff, and I felt kind of shady because I was like, I shouldn't be not part. I'm just reading it. I'm just like a hired voice. You
Do you
don't.
remind, because you've been past the pin drop journey from very early on. I mean,
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know about pin drop, it was born out of my gallery and then moved to the Royal Academy and to various other art institutions and BAFTA and places like that, where we bring together art and literature essentially, and we'd have very big writers read their own short fiction, and then we'd interview them afterwards. And then Russell has been someone who has worked with us on a number of occasions and has read a whole host of stories, including some of the ones from this book. And last year you went around and we went to Tanner Contemporary, we went to Tate, went to Pallet House, Royal Academy, and it's part of the program that I curate, all those the Royal Academy and the extended program. And Russell has read so many great stories, so it made complete sense for you to write your own story that we can then put in the collection. And here it is.
I can now read my own story and legitimately sign the book and be like, yeah. And that felt really exciting and good because I still want to continue the Pin Drop story. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to read everyone else's stories, but I really relish the opportunity now to read my own words out because they're embedded in me. I know what all the nuances and the subtleties are. I know what is being said and what's not being said.
Exactly. And on that point, conscious of time, we need to move on to your second extract. So this takes us to the heart of the story in many ways. We'll talk about it afterwards, but over to you, Russ.
All right. I made it to New York, the city that never sleeps. Next to you, the lonely pit, whole of the earth, metal and glass, speed and distraction. No time for this, no time for that. But I made it, and I made it mine. I'd never seen a penis, apart from my own, before getting to that city, and within 24 hours, I'd seen 9. Yes, that's right. 9 penises. All unique, all very different shaped and different colors, all with their very own personalities. I was so overcome, it brought on a blinding migraine, and I had to sit in a dark room for 48 hours. Not that kind of a dark room. That was the weekend after. To say I went crazy would be incredibly polite. It was like falling into a vat of cream-filled donuts and swimming. Life now still had an excitement that I had never known was missing. I could finally see why the world gravitated towards Manhattan. But with all the new, it would soon become incredibly old and catastrophically lonely very quickly. I had a phobia of touch, probably brought on by my mother's inability to hold me and my father's inability to care. My experiences were limited. I got a job in a bottle shop and kept quiet. Moving farther downtown, staying clean and sober, life was manageable. I felt safe for the first time in my life to just live. I allowed myself that. Contentment to just be alive. But he turned up. Yep, here we go. He came into my bottle shop and paused, staring at me open-mouthed from the doorway before coming straight up to the counter. Danny? I looked at him. No. Oh, he said. You look identical to my friend from childhood, Danny. I look like a child? No. What he would look like now? Oh, okay. Sorry, that's just really jumped me. I loved him very much. Oh, okay. Where's your bourbon? I pointed to a shelf of bourbons, and off he went to select his bottle. What an oddball, I thought. He came back with a mid-range bottle and paid for it, a curious, questioning look on his face. Are you okay? I said. He reached over and grabbed my hand, which, as you know, I would have normally swiped away at a rapid, violent pace, but for some reason with him, I just let him hold me. Can we get a drink? Food? Drink and food, please? He stammered. Sure, I said, as my mind was screaming, what the fuck is going on? Great, thanks, here's my card. Thanks. Then he was gone. I looked down at the card. Cave, Mark, Anthony, Teller. That's a crazy name, I thought. All the Shakespeare characters in one person? Who names their child Cave? Days went by, and I didn't call him, obviously. Nobody ever actually calls people these days, do they? I didn't call him, but I did think about him every single minute of every single fucking day after that, hoping and praying he had come back, drinking the mid-range bottle of bourbon on the sly. The next time I saw him was in a hospital, a year later. It was around the holidays, and while crossing the road, I'd slipped and fallen, nearly getting run down by a trolley delivering rotisserie ducks and chickens to Chinatown. While being helped up by a kindly older gentleman, I was told I looked ridiculous as I cascaded into the path of the van, and to watch where I went next time, in my footwear that was incredibly unacceptable for the weather. I told him they were fur-lined, but my ankle was busted. It went blue and green, and I tried that hot and cold compress situation you're told about, only to scald my foot in the process, needing treatment for that too. I took myself off to the emergency room. Sat there for several hours. I became slightly delusional with the pain. People came and went around me in Santa Claus hats and big puffed up coats, and it didn't feel like I was getting any closer to being seen. So I commandeered a wheelchair and scuttled away for some real holiday adventure. The elevator dropped me off on the 9th level, which had a quieter and more somber vibe. I asked the porter what delights this floor held for me. Oncology, sir. Oh, I thought, heavy. I scooted along in my wheelchair and stopped to peer in each of the single rooms, no idea why, it just felt cozy. Maybe I could find a sweet old lady to pass the time with, chatting about our favorite Rock Hudson movies. Suddenly, I saw him. I froze before daring to look in again, and there he was. Cave. Sat up in bed, staring out of the window with a drip in his arm. I found his papers at the door. Cave, Mark, Anthony, Teller. It was the bottle shop bourbon boy. I pushed the doors open. He didn't turn around at first. As I didn't will any further in, his instincts made him query his silent guest. Danny? He said. No, again. I huffed. Jesus, I thought, who the fuck was this Danny bitch? I work at the bottle shop. You came in and gave me your card. You never called. Well, you never came back. I was waiting for you to call. I was waiting for you to come back. Oh. We stared at each other in silence. I have leukemia, he flatly stated, pointing to the drip. Oh, I said. I fucked my ankle crossing the road and then burnt my foot trying to stop the swelling. He stared at me with that curious look again. You win, he said. I took the audacity to will myself further into the room. He watched me as I came closer to the bed. I was bored waiting in the ER, so took myself off for a cruise. Nice. Yeah. And here you are. Here I am. We silently studied each other. We've wasted so much time, haven't we? We we have? I asked curiously, my face as questioning as his. It seemed like 15 long minutes before he finally whispered, "Are you going to kiss me then?" The world seemed to stop in that moment. Nothing so beautiful had ever been uttered by someone so beautiful in all my life and aimed at me with such beauty. I didn't know what to do. My legs would have gone to jelly and I'd have dropped to the floor had I not now had a wheelchair under me. I pushed my ride around to the window side of his bed and sat there. "You're going to have to come closer. I'm attached to this," he smiled softly, indicating where the drip wire was protruding out of his arm. My heart raced beyond anything I'd ever felt before, more than when Daddy made me climb the highest fern in the garden, more than when I slipped and fell all the way down. Right now, this feeling was something completely alien to me. My hearing muffled as I pulled myself up from the chair and came closer to his hospital bed. He gently took my face in his hands and held it so softly I felt like an angel. "I haven't brushed my teeth today," he said. "Neither have I whispered as romantically as I could before he kissed me, like they did when the world was all in black and white. It's the next bit.
I feel like we need a round of applause, but we don't get that on this, obviously, do we? But we'll give you a round of applause. That's such a great scene and very powerful. And of course, it's that's the name of the story. The kiss comes from that scene, and I think it came. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but you read that story to Tracy Emin in her studio before she did the illustration for the book.
It was it was a pitch for her to do the illustrations. She was there with David Dawson, who's another artist and really one of Tracy's oldest friends. And they kind of sat on the couch, closed their eyes, and I read the story out, and it felt like an old school salon. Artists get together and regale each other. And then the kiss drawing came up. So that scene we're just talking about, the scene I just read, or the section, the drawing is like the couple in bed. So there's the wheelchair. And there's the drip going into Cave's arm. There's the bed, and that's what Tracy Emin produced, which is such an amazing gift.
It is. It's great to have it in the book. Great for your story. It's just wonderful. It's sort of like this. She's turned a very kind of what could be seen as a kind of a sad moment in many ways into this kind of joyous thing as well, which is just great. And it's it kind of again it talks to that whole union between art and literature and your two passions. So it's it's brilliant to have them both in the book, your story and
I'm really proud of it.
Very good. We were going to read maybe a short extract from one of the other stories in the book, weren't you? Because you have performed so many, as we said before, and one of them, which seems so sort of prescient for our times, and actually during lockdown, Will Self, who's the story that you're going to read now, it's called Civilization. He wrote to me during lockdown and said, "Well, Simon, it's so strange. It's like that story. It feels like very prescient. It's very personal for now, and it certainly is." And so, for those of you who haven't read it, Russell's going to go read the opening paragraph to give you a flavour of the other stories that are in the book. It's a pretty powerful story. It touches on the sort of some of the themes that we're all kind of going through right now, but it's really about a man who's unraveling at the seams with this very strange disease and living in a society which is also unraveling at the seams. But we're just going to get the opening paragraph right now to give you a flavour of of the story.
Yeah. Civilization by Will Self. I've been confined to my apartments by a condition at once debilitating and embarrassing. At periodic intervals, my body disgorges somewhere in the region of a cupful of matter, which is both colloidal and mercurial, quicksilver and stodgy. I never know for more than a few moments in advance when the discharge will come or where from. Eyes, ears, nostrils, mouth, urethra, or anus. This gooey stuff smells at once excremental and aseptic, a bouquet of shit and detergent.
And there you have it. The opening paragraph to Civilization.
Yeah, amazing. That was amazing. Form that one as well because everyone in the audience is like, "Oh God, what the hell is this?"
I know, and the publisher of this book as well, the lovely Suzanne from Summer Schuster, she sort of said, "Oh my goodness, you're going to really read that one, the Royal Academy." And of course, it was brilliant because it was the contrast between the Royal Academy and there, and then yeah, everyone loved it, and your performance was very visceral.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tripping on the words, like pausing on the most disgusting words and just letting them kind of reverberate. The Royal Academy felt really nice
because it doesn't get any better in that sense, does it? I mean, it stays as disgusting throughout the story. Yeah, it's great, and of course, testament to you, a great actor, being able to go straight from an American accent to that without, seamlessly.
Oh well, there we go. Thank you.
We've had a few questions come in from people, and I'm going to turn the comments on as well towards the end of it. But the questions we had come in advance we had quite a few actually. So I just picked. I'm afraid, I hope no one's disappointed, but I picked just 2 or 3 that I thought Russ would be happy to answer.
Yeah.
The first one that came in, which seemed to catch quite a lot of people's questions, is like, what do you have coming up next in the acting world?
So tomorrow night on Sky Arts, which is now free on Freeview, which is really exciting. It's a gift of culture. There is a show called No Masks, which is a one-off film where a writer called Rebecca Lenkovich and Nadia Fall went into, with the Stratford East Theatre, went into the community and interviewed first responders at the start of the pandemic about what was going on. And then these monologues, their stories, were given to actors, myself included, who would then present them to camera, who would read them out as monologues to camera, like Alan Bennett's Talking Heads. Really important piece.
A bit like this, in fact.
A bit like this. This feels like 2 talking heads, yeah. So it's like that. So it's like someone taking our words now, Simon, and then performing them or on an Instagram live somewhere parallel. So it feels like a really important piece because it's humanizing so many really personal stories about these people that are heroes that have put themselves on the front line, that are there first responding and helping people. 9 p.m. on Sky Arts. And then in October, I haven't got a date yet, is a show called The Sister, which is a 4-part drama thriller for ITV written by Neil Cross, behind Luther fame. And I shot that before Christmas. So that's now out, and I'm really, that's completely different performance for me and character, and it's scary. It's really scary and exciting.
And No Masks, you recorded that during lockdown?
Yeah, not lockdown ease. That was one of the first things that came in, and I was literally chomping at the bit. I was like, I love doing monologues. I love verbatim wording. I love scripts that use people's real, like, colloquialisms and everything. I love all that, and the fact that you can get in front of a camera with a crew just felt like really important and really exciting.
Yes, yeah, amazing. I'll be tuning in tomorrow, and it is, like you say, it's great that Sky Arts is now available to everyone. I mean, it's such a great platform, and it's just going to be brilliant. And I mean, just generally on the cultural front, while there seems to be so many sort of terrible things happening, and there's so much, so many venues and writers and artists and actors also struggling because of the situation everyone finds themselves in, along with everyone else, of course. But it is amazing that something like Sky Arts is, kind of making itself available to everybody, and that you're participating in that, and also things like this, of course, where we can actually connect with hundreds of people at any one time, and there's still that kind of sense of the cultural landscape that we're all part of in the UK, and what's amazing about this is that we can reach so many people very easily, rather than just being in a room in London, which is often the case, and this reach a much more diverse, broader audience all around the world.
People around the world. So it's
yeah, absolutely. And the question has come up: are we both gay? I think we can probably both answer that question as a resounding yes, actually. Proudly so.
Yeah.
Other question, and this came in a few times as well. Based, I think the Q was in the name of your story, but who was your first kiss, and what was your best kiss?
Do you know one of the first people I kissed? was the comedian Sarah Pascoe, because we used to go to drama club together in Essex. And I think I was probably 13 or 14 and I had train track braces. And I think she had train track braces as well. And I think we kind of sparked in the mouth. I think she was one of my first kisses. So yeah, that was like the Essex kind of like moments of discovery.
Amazing. Is that a world exclusive?
Probably is actually, yeah. I don't think I anywhere. I hope she's all right with that. She isn't embarrassed.
And which was your first gay kiss?
First gay kiss, I was probably around the same age at drama club.
Wow.
Yeah, so quite
Same,
young.
yeah, not the same day, I'm sure, but yeah.
There was a lot going on.
And the other question that came in was just about, which you kind of touched on. Are you writing anything else at the moment? And, kind of person to our conversation today, you are, in fact, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got lots of things coming up actually, but we've got my podcast Toolkart. We've got a book that me and my podcast partner Robert have been writing, and that's out next year some point, which is like a Toolkart guide to the art world. So that's really exciting because I can be a complete geek, and like through all the interviews and all our knowledge and like adventure with the podcast is really going into this book, and my personal narrative and Rob's narrative of discovery, self-discovery and art discoveries through kind of feels like from puberty to now is all in there time. And then there's other stuff. Yeah, it's good. I feel quite at the minute with stuff. So
yeah, it's nice. It's very important right now for people to be doing stuff and keeping active. I think because there's so much sort of negative stuff going on in the world. It's great that there are all these sort of new opportunities and people like you are doing these things and encouraging other people to do it as well. I saw you're sort of supporting other scholarships and various things for kind of creative endeavours, and I think that is fantastic. It's great.
Culture is so important. We've all got to support it because it's the way that we tell stories. It's the way that information gets out. It's the way that humans connect to each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's we've got to support the arts.
Yeah, it's true. It's very, very true. So I saw a few questions coming up on the comments asking how do they get your book and how do they buy this book and the story and everything else. So we're going to hold it up. You can, I'm sure Waterstones will appreciate me saying this, but you can definitely get copies of A Short Affair with Russell Tovey's story in it, edited by me, Simon Oldfield. There it is. You can get it from Waterstones, and there's a whole stack of signed ones in, I think it's Gower Street and a few of the others, and we're going to be going around and signing a whole bunch more. So you can pick up your copy from Waterstones. Before we kind of go, I am going to ask you to read the final extract from your story. Now, for everyone who's listening, we haven't given you the whole of the story, obviously, because we want you to enjoy it and read it yourself. And we're not going to give you the very end of the story, again, because we don't want to completely ruin it. But this is just the kind of towards the end, and I think it summarizes the story and kind of what we've been doing this evening really nicely. So over to you, Russ.
Life is never what you think it will be, is it? I never thought I'd survive in New York longer than 5 years. I never thought I'd survive my childhood without crashing a car or slipping down a canyon, but here we are. We are here, in this room, sharing my story, which may have connected with your own stories. Yes, I had love, and yes, it is gone, but at least I had it. At least I felt it. And isn't that enough to keep you going?
Perfect ending to this, I think. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and thank you, Waterstones, for hosting this. Thank you, Russell. Thank you, all the other contributors to the book. It's really wonderful to have so many great stories in there and great artwork as well, all artists from the Royal Academy of Arts. And hopefully we'll be able to get back into the Royal Academy. All these institutions are struggling so much, and it'd be great to get back in there and host some events and continue the program that I curate there. And And it'd be really, really lovely to have you back, Russell, as well. Back in the.
I'd love to be back. I can't wait. Yeah, I second everything you said. Thanks everyone for listening and supporting. And please buy the book. It's a beautiful book. And keep supporting the arts and be well.
Thanks so much, Russ.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. I am just closing this off, and thank you for all your amazing comments. It's just lovely to have all the love from all of you. You clearly love Russell, you love the story and the whole thing and everything about Pin Drop and the book, and it's really wonderful. Thank you. And thanks again to Simon Schuster and to everyone else who has been part of this. I'm going to end it now. Bye.